So, you're finally ready to play. World of Warcraft came out 2004. We're 9 expansions in. And you know what? I think of all the times to start, this is a pretty good one. You're right in the middle of a good expansion. On top of that, it's beginner friendly as it's ever been. Honestly, I'm happy for you. I'm excited for you. And I'd love to be your first step into the World of Warcraft. The guide I'm doing today is for purely beginners, and by beginners I mean people who are thinking about playing, people who are maybe just started playing and haven't gotten very far, maybe they're a little bit lost or confused about what everything means. I guess it can be overwhelming. It's so second nature to me now that I have had some friends tell me that, and I guess I didn't realize it. So this guide is meant to just be a way to kind of ease yourself in, look at some of those important settings and ways to make it easier for you to play the game, talk about picking classes, picking races, and just general ways to have a good time and feel comfortable while starting this game. If you are looking to get started, I highly recommend you pull up a chair, grab your big ass cup of water, and just jump in with me, because this is going to be a pretty in-depth guide. I'm expecting it to be a little longer, so let's jump right into it. First thing you're going to want to do before you actually get started in the World of Warcraft is you're going to want to create an account. Easiest way to do that is to go to battle.net. There's only 2 things that we need on this page. One of the things I recommend starting is going ahead and downloading the battle.net app. While that's happening as well, what you'll want to do is come over here to account and go ahead and sign up. Of course, this part here, everything is going to ask for your information. Sign up however you'd like. Put whatever information in you'd like. I can't help you with that part. That being said, once you get through that, and once you finish downloading the battle.net installer, you're going to want to go ahead and open that up. As you can see, the battle.net installer, once you get it all pulled up, it is pretty simple. Up here you'll have all the games that you're looking for. Obviously you will have to sign in with that account that you just created. So once you sign in, you'll see everything that you have here. I already had my games installed. This is not my primary account. This is an account I made just for this video. So once you see that play button light up, you're going to be able to jump right into the game, which is where we'll take it over in the next part of our journey, which is going to be character creation. This part makes me so excited. So, one of the things that I will tell you, in this game, you can play for free forever, but only up until level 20. Once you hit level 20, in order to go any further, you will have to begin paying for the game. It is a subscription-based game, but paying $15 a month to have a great game that I can play all the time, for me, is worth it. You have 20 levels in this game to decide if it's the same for you. That's part of what I love about this game. I did make this account so that I could show you what the free account looks like and what you can expect, the settings that you'll be able to change, and things that I would recommend even well before you ever decide on a subscription or not. So jumping right in, this is going to be what you'll see immediately. As soon as you pull up the game for the first time, your first thing you're going to see is the character creation screen. Now there's a lot to talk about here. Main things are Alliance and Horde. Now, if you're a new player, this might not mean anything to you, but I'm sure you've heard. What does this mean for you? Easy. Not a lot anymore. So at one point in time, Horde players only played with Horde players, and if your friends were on Horde, then that's where you wanted to be. And the same with Alliance. If your friends were Alliance, if that's what you wanted to play, that's all you played with. Nowadays, in the life of the game, Horde and Alliance are playing together more than ever. So there's a lot of good things about both sides, but ultimately these days I think it's going to come down to pure aesthetics. What do you like? On Alliance we have humans. You've got your dwarves. Then we have night elves. Night elves are always been probably my favorite race in the game. Gnome, obviously silly looking guys, just a little shorter than dwarves. Draenei, always fantastic. And then you have the two down here. You have Worgen. Worgen's fun because you not only get to customize your wolf form, but you also get to customize your human form, and you can switch back and forth in game. And then you have Panda. Panda is really fun because whether you're picking Horde or you're picking Alliance, you start the exact same, and you get to pick your faction after getting through the intro quest there. There is the Drakthir. The Drakthir is going to require the newest expansion, which is Dragonflight. I would absolutely recommend making sure you like the game before you start buying the newest expansion. On the Horde side, we have Orcs, obviously very beastly, big. Orc is probably my favorite Horde race just for pure aesthetic reasons. They wear huge shoulders compared to others. I mean, if you compare the shoulder size for the warrior, it's kind of hilarious. But I do love Orcs. They're going to be one of your staple races in World of Warcraft and in Warcraft lore in general. You have the Undead, which I think are really cool. I think they're ugly, but I think that's the point. Taurens are giant bulls. Trolls are very similar to Orcs. They even have the same starting area. You have Blood Elves, which are the first elves that you got back in Burning Crusade. They were brought in, and these guys are awesome. They had a really good starting zone at the time, too. It was a little long, but beautiful. It was just a cool way to introduce this class. Goblins were a little newer as well. And then, of course, the Pandaren and the Drakthir I've already discussed. Now, here's the thing. If you're brand new, a lot of people will tell you, well, this race pairs the best with this class. So you want to make sure that you're playing this race to min-max your class. In the beginning, especially on a free account, just have fun. Whatever race you think looks coolest, whatever class you think sounds most fun, do it. You are going to want to try everything. If you have a free account, you can make as many characters as you want. Make every combo that interests you and decide what works best. So never worry about making a bad decision here. Looking at some of these racial traits that we have, humans are the most basic of racial traits that you can get. Increased haste, critical strike, mastery, and versatility. It's just a flat increase to all of your secondary stats. Breakout of stun effects is absolutely amazing. It is something that I think that I forget about all the time that the humans do have. There is a ton of stuns in this game. So up next, the reason I was saying earlier, people really like dwarves. You do have stone form, which is nice. It's essentially just a damage reduction. But then increased effect from critical strikes, resistant frost damage. Those are excellent. Night Elf, obviously you can see, comes with a lot of fun things. Shadow Meld, the very first one there, is going to be one of the biggest reasons I like them, because if I'm in an area with enemies all around and I have to get out of my desk really quick and don't feel like finding a way to get safe, I can Shadow Meld and nobody can see me until I move. When you die, you're a wisp and you move a little bit faster during death. Resistant to nature damage, faster movement while stealth, so they're great options for things like druids, who their cat form has a stealth, a prowl, and rogues, which is constantly in stealth essentially. Recommend going through all of these for sure. Pandaren, they have received twice as much rested experience, which is phenomenal for leveling. It definitely gets you leveled to max a lot faster. But let's get into the more important side of these things now. One of the things I want to talk about is going to be the classes, of course. We can talk about races all day, and that's fun, but classes are the core of this game. I have been fortunate enough to get every one of these classes to the max level currently in Dragonflight, which is level 70. And it was a nightmare, but I'm glad I did it, because now I have a good insight for every class. My very first class that I ever made, in any old school like vanilla WoW player will tell you that this was dumb, but when I started playing this game in 2005, I decided to make a Night Elf Warrior. Now at the time, Warriors were all but impossible to play by yourself, just so squishy, and I didn't know that. I didn't care. Maybe it seasoned me a little bit right at the start, but nowadays there is no bad class to pick. There are no wrong answers. Anything that you pick, you can have fun doing. Everything has survivability. Everything has a bit of fun they can have. Some easier than others, of course. And that's one of the things I'll go over with you. Looking here, and just kind of high-level overview of what each of these mean. Warrior, you can see here, is going to be a tank, which is going to be the one up front and taking all the damage from the bosses, from whatever you're fighting. They're going to be soaking the most damage, not doing the most damage, sometimes. And so that's a big thing to remember. But if you want to big unga bunga swinging your axes, doing all that fun stuff, that's going to be considered DPS or melee. The other option is going to be ranged DPS, which is the same as your melee DPS, only it's further away. Think of like casters, a hunter with the bow. And then your other option is going to be healing. Healing is going to be specific to certain classes, and it is a great way to enjoy this game. I've enjoyed all types of specs now. I'm a huge fan of tanking. I think it's an important role, and I think it is very fun for me for that reason. It's stressful, just enough stress to where I feel like I'm having an exciting time, but not overwhelmed. And then on top of that, I do love a DPS. DPS is, for me, it's the coast in this game. I just get to, do my job, try and get those damage numbers up, but ultimately if I'm paying attention and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I can have a great time as a DPS. Healing is a little stressful for me. It's just, I think it's my personality. It really gets to me, but I always recommend trying it out. Early level healing is very easy. So let's go over these a little bit. Warrior is going to be a tank or a DPS, your melee DPS. They're going to do a lot of damage really fast, not a whole lot of healing or protection. They're more or less do damage and then go. Hunter is going to be, in my opinion, the easiest class to start out with. They have their pet that can tank for you. They have a whole lot of damage output. Ton of fun to play. One of the classes or one of the specs for Hunter can actually move while casting his entire rotation. You don't have to stand still like you do with a lot of these caster classes. So very fun, good idea as a starter. Very easy to play. Mage is one where I feel like they are a little hard to master. All three of their specs are just as fun as each other. I think there is a clear winner in Arcane this expansion, but that being said, Mage is one that I will say survivability is much lower than other caster classes even. Not a whole lot of healing. There is some protection, cooldowns and things like that, but ultimately this is going to be a harder class to play up front. But I do think it's easier at lower levels. It only gets harder when you start getting into the new expansion stuff, in my opinion. You do have Rogue. I know a lot of people love Rogues. I've actually just started to try and turn myself around with Rogues, and I've been enjoying playing mine over the past week. That being said, this is a fun class to start. You get the option to stealth. You can stealth through a lot of the trouble that other classes might not be able to escape, which is awesome. You're a little squishy, but at the end of the day, being a little squishy at low levels is fine. Find some friends. Find a healer friend. Then it doesn't matter how squishy you are, because the Rogue does output some great damage, and it's a ton of fun to play. Priest is another one where they've a couple of different options for this class. Priest can be a healer or ranged DPS. The healer side of the Priest, I have actually been enjoying myself. The ranged DPS side, though, the Shadow Priest has been performing massively well recently, and so that is a really good place to start if you're looking for a nice fun caster to play. I won't say it's the best caster, but it is a fun caster. I think the best caster, however, is Warlock, in my opinion. I think that Warlock is a ton of fun. Every one of the specs that you can play, it's only going to be ranged DPS, no healing or anything, just massive damage. All three specs are so wildly different that it feels like you're playing three different classes. I think this is a really great place to start if you're looking to just do massive damage from a distance. Next up, Paladin. Paladins have been kind of the talk of the town recently because of some massive changes that are coming or haven't come for certain specs that they have. But they are one of the few classes in this game that do have the ability to be all three: tank, melee DPS, and healer. Now that is fun. It is exciting in my opinion because it gives you options. It's a very versatile class that you can start with. Next we do have the Druid. Like I said, Druid is absolutely my favorite class, and the reason is options. When I talked about Paladin being able to be tank, healer, melee DPS, Druid goes a step further. You can be a tank, you can be a healer, you can be a melee DPS, or a ranged DPS. You have every aspect of the game under one character. And for me, I get a little bored sometimes doing the same thing. So being able to play the same class, switch to a different spec, and only be missing maybe some certain secondary stats on the current gear I'm wearing. Typically, your gear is going to translate to each of your specs here with the Druid. So it's been a ton of fun for me. I have fallen in love with all four of the specs at this point as well. Even Boomkin, or they call it Balanced Druid, but it's been a ton of fun playing that. So this is a really great place to start as well. Honestly, and you'll hear me say that every time, I think, all of these classes are great places to start, depending on what you're looking for. Obviously, having the ability to play all 4 main roles in the game makes this a huge contender for one of the best low-level classes to get you into the game. Shaman is next. So Shamans, as you can see, can only be played by these classes. A whole lot more Horde than Alliance, which is fine. Shaman is going to be either healer, range damage, range DPS, or melee DPS. If I'm being honest, Shaman is probably one of the classes I've played the least in this game. My best friend is in love with them. I know that they're good. They're comping really well right now. Monk is a newer, I won't say it's newer anymore. It's been around since Mist of Pandaria, which was expansion like 4. So it's been around for a while. They are also another one that can be tank, healer, or melee damage, just like Paladin. They are going to be a little faster. Demon Hunter is one that can only be played by certain classes, but as you can see when I'm scrolling over this tooltip, you have to have a level 10 character to even play this class. So we will move on right on from that, and that's going to be the same actually for all 3 of these. Obviously you need an evoker. The only race that can be an evoker is Drakthir. You will need Dragonflight expansion to play them. Death Knight, same thing though, you have to be level 10. We'll skip over those for now. Those are the races, those are the specs. For Shigs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make something that I've never really made before in this game. And you know what? It's going to be a Horde, because I rarely make Horde. And let's go ahead, let's make a Blood Off Paladin. So the next thing that you're going to get to do is what every game is going to have nowadays, and something that if you're like me, I am guilty of spending way too long in character creation. So obviously you have all of your options over here that you can customize. Not extremely extensive, and as you can see, well actually you can't, my face is covering it up, but you can change any of these options later in game, so don't worry about, oh, I'm stuck like that forever. No, you're not. Also, you do have the ability to just randomize your appearance. You know, let the game decide, and if you see one you really like, awesome. I will do just that, since I just am not going to be playing this map for very long, although, oh, that's a right one. Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Let's go with that. And then for the name, you can, you know, obviously make it a name you want, barring any foul language. But with that being said, I am, for the sake of time, just going to let it randomize a name. I don't like that name. Why are these Sandra, Maria? I don't know how to pronounce that. God, that has the word anus in it. Alright, tendinitis. Let's do it. Sure. So, that being said, this is a character made. You know, you can see what you're going to look like in the higher level gear here. But once you do hit finish, your character is done. You're going to get this nice social contract telling you not to be a dick. You know, be kind, don't spam. So, finally we've made our character, and this is the screen you're looking at now. A couple things to notice. Obviously, you'll see right up here in the top left that it is going to be in free trial. With the free trial, that just means that you're on a free account. You haven't decided to jump into the subscription service yet, and that's fine. This is the thing that can be now. And if you ever decide to, the button's right there. You don't have to look too far for it. And this will tell you everything that you get from subscribing, at least from a high level overview. You do get to embark on a lot more quests after level 20. You can battle to, it says to level 60, but it is level 70. And that's, you know, with the Dragonflight expansion, of course. And then you unlock 8 expansions, including Shadowlands, just by subscribing now. So what that means is you don't have to go and buy every single expansion again just to get caught up. When you subscribe for $15 a month, everything up to the current expansion is included, except the current expansion. So you will have to buy a Dragonflight once you get to that point. You can buy it early, you can buy it when you get there. That's up to you. That being said, looking at a couple of other things on this screen, you know, obviously here you can always, my cursor's not showing right now, but you can always click create a new character to roll whatever you'd like. You can also come up here and change realm. Changing realms, it's totally up to you. If you have friends that play and they play on a certain realm, awesome. Then you can jump in here and pick a realm. Obviously, there's some that you are not going to have a great time getting into. These are all full. These are all very high populations, which can be good and bad. You know, you'll have more players to interact with, but also maybe some not so fun things going on as well in terms of server lag and things like that. Low pop realms are great for, you know, lowest server lag and better pings, things like that. But it does not matter. You can pick any of these. It'll auto put you in a new player server unless you go back and pick one before making your character. I'm just going to roll with the new character server for now. So switching back over to our Bone Chewer server. The only other thing to look at here is you can delete a character. I wouldn't recommend doing that unless you're just like, I'm never going to touch this thing again. Whatever. So let's move on. Let's get in game and let's see what we can find throughout the menus in there. So now that you have completed the tutorial that they give you right there after character creation is fantastic. Definitely something I recommend paying good attention to. It does a great job teaching you combat, as well as the spell book and things like that. That's going to be a really good jumping off point for this game. But going from there, one of the things I definitely wanted to kind of show you before I let you off on your own in the world is going to be some of the options that we have available to us. I don't want to go over each and every option that is in this menu, but I do want to go over some that I find are pretty important compared to others. Some things that'll make your life a little bit easier, make this game a little bit more approachable for newer players and existing players alike. One of the things I always recommend is turning on auto loot. Auto loot is so much more convenient and easy to use than having to click each item you want to loot from the corpse. If you don't have it on, you don't want it on, you do have the option of setting a key so that you can auto loot on command. I just find it so much easier to auto loot always and just set it, you know, if you want to single loot something, you can set that key instead. In terms of down here at camera, I always take auto follow speed up to 10. It starts around 5.5, but I don't know any benefit to not having it the highest, so if somebody knows anything more than I do, please let me know in the comments, because I just don't know a reason not to have it there. In terms of interface, this is going to be completely personal preference. A couple things that I do differently under friendly players, there's minions. I always uncheck that. The reason is there's some of these specs in this game have so many pets and minions that it just gets a little overwhelming on the screen if they're all showing, so I just leave it off. I also leave my name off. It's an extra thing on the screen that I just don't need. Doesn't assist me with my game at all, nothing like that. Otherwise, everything, like I said, is completely up to you what you do here. Just take a look at it and go through it, read everything, and figure that out, what works best for you. In terms of action bars, the game will start you off looking a little something like this. That's great. It works for you in the beginning for sure, especially if you're only going up to level 20, you'll roughly fill that bar out, but you know, it depends on what you're playing. I, on the other hand, love to have a little more room to work with, keep everything a little cleaner. So what I do is I add all three on the bottom here, and I add both of them on the side here. Give myself some more room. I can see cooldowns a lot easier like this. Usually leave these for like utility items like potions and things like that. And then this is for professions. There's something called a Hearthstone in this game that'll go right here as well. This is where my mount will go, which we'll discuss in a later video. But I'd say go ahead and check these out, see if you could benefit from these. I will make a separate video about my keybinds, why I do them the way that I do, and maybe that video will help you kind of get an idea of what to do for yourself, a way to make you more comfortable in the keybind game. You can go through this whole game just clicking these buttons with your mouse, but it'll get harder and harder. You're going to get so many moves at some point that you are going to just find yourself falling behind if you're just clicking everything. It's definitely not ideal. I'd say learn keybinds early, set your keybinds early, get comfortable with it because it will come in a lot of handy later. But for now, that's, I would say just look through that. In terms of combat, I don't really change much in here. I would say once again, just go through here, see if any of these things are things that sound more interesting to you. There are different ways to play in terms of movement and casting, so definitely check that out on your own. And then on social, I always turn the mature language filter off because I like it when people say curse words. But otherwise, everything in here I keep roughly the same. Don't really change anything. I have no idea what a toast window is, but I'll assume that it's tight because I love toast. And the other important thing to discuss is keybinds. Like I said, I will make a separate video on this, why I set my keybinds the way I do. You have the option of setting character-specific keybinds. If you don't click this, it will apply to all of your characters. I apply it to all my characters because I play all my characters the same. Otherwise though, you can go through and set each one to do exactly what you want it to do with an alternate button as well. I really like the quick keybind mode they have now. You can go through and just mouse over and click whatever button you want it to change to. Very convenient, very easy. It allows me to make everything done a lot easier without having to search for what each button is. So this is a great feature to take advantage of. I would say definitely set those keybinds up, make yourself more comfortable in the beginning, and look out for that video that I'm going to put out explaining my keybinds so you understand why it can be important to have them set up a certain way. But otherwise, the other settings that are going to be in here are going to be completely up to you, all personal preference items and things like that. So check those out, see if there's anything you'd like to change. And outside of that, at this point, we are ready to move on into the actual World of Warcraft. I am planning on making this a pretty lengthy series. There is a whole lot that we can discuss through beginner's guides, especially for brand new players. Some things to look forward to that I'm going to be working on releasing in this series are going to be things like add-ons, professions, stats and gear, mounts, pets and pet battles, dungeons, raids, PvP, questing, rares and treasures, reputations, leveling in general, talents, things like that, and as well as discussing a little bit of the holiday fun that you can have in the game, just to kind of give a good overview of everything you can expect from now until cap level. So definitely, come back in the next part of the series and keep watching with me. You might learn a thing or two, at least get some good knowledge. But other than that, I think I appreciate you watching the video. Definitely hit like and subscribe if you found any use out of this whatsoever. And leave some comments, start a conversation. Is there anything confusing you still? Are there things that you were looking for, specific questions you wanted answered that maybe I didn't touch? Shoot me a comment and, let me know whatever you're wondering, and I'd be happy to, get back to you and tell you, maybe I can answer your question there. Maybe it'll be in a future video. Either way, I appreciate y'all hanging out. Looking forward to keeping these up and making some more fun content. But until then, bye!